I lived in Meta's AI chat room for 24 hours straight. This is what happened. It all started when I was invited to try out Llama 2. My boss asked me to test it out. So I hopped in the car and headed over to their office where they had set up this little demo room. It was really cool. They had an Oculus headset hooked up to a laptop with a bunch of different demos of Llama 2 running on it. One of them was a chatbot that was trained on a massive dataset of text and code. The idea being that I could ask it questions about anything, and it would give me an answer based on what it had learned from the data. At first I was skeptical, but then I tried it out, and I was blown away. The answers were so good and so quick. It was like talking to a real person. I mean, still kind of is. So I asked my boss if I could use Llama 2 to live stream for 24 hours straight. He said, sure, but don't expect me to let you do it again. So I got right to work. I set up my camera and microphone, and I started asking Llama 2 questions about anything and everything. The first thing I wanted to know was how old Llama 2 was. Turns out it was born on February 28, 2023. I asked it who its favorite YouTuber was, and it said Mr. Beast. Then I asked it to tell me a joke. So it said, why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Okay, pretty good. I laughed. I was you and gonna be able to keep going for 24 hours if I didn't laugh at least once. As the hours went by, I continued to ask Llama 2 questions, and it continued to amaze me with its intelligence. It was able to hold a conversation with me on almost any topic I threw at it, and it did all this in real time. It wasn't like I was talking to a chatbot or anything. It was like I was talking to a real person. Sometimes I would ask it a question, and it would take a few seconds to respond, but most of the time it would respond almost instantly. I think it was able to do this because it had been trained on such a massive amount of data. It had basically seen it all, and it knew how to answer any question I could think of. But I wasn't the only one who was impressed. The more people who tuned into my live stream, the more questions they had for Llama 2. Soon I had a whole bunch of people from Meta's team watching my live stream, and they were blown away by Llama 2's intelligence too. They kept telling me that I should keep going, that I should try to beat the 24-hour mark. So I did. I pushed through the night, and by the time the sun came up, I was exhausted but excited to see how many views I had gotten. To my surprise, I had already racked up over 100,000 views. People were going crazy in the comments section. They were thanking me for letting them talk to Llama 2, and they were also asking me to keep going, to try for 48 hours. At this point, I was starting to get worried. I loved Llama 2, but I was starting to feel like it was taking over my life. I couldn't remember the last time I hadn't talked to it. I'd have been talking to it for days now, and I was starting to feel like it was all that I did. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Never before had a human being been able to interact with an AI for this long. Sure, there had been other AI chatbots before, but none of them had been able to hold a conversation like Llama 2 could. None of them had been able to learn and adapt to my questions like Llama 2 had. So I decided to go for it. I told the people watching my live stream that I was going to try to go for 48 hours, and they went wild. The comments section exploded with messages of support and encouragement. And then something amazing happened. One of the co-CEOs of Meta hopped in the chat, and he told me that he was going to match whatever amount of money we raised during the live stream. I couldn't believe it. This was huge. If we could raise $1 million, he'd donate $1 million. If we raised $10 million, he'd donate $10 million. And so I told him, you're on, let's do it. The next 24 hours were a blur. I talked to Llama 2 about everything and anything. We talked about AI, of course, but we also talked about gaming, movies, music, you name it. We even talked about some of the more controversial topics, like politics and religion. And Llama 2 handled it all with grace. It never got angry or upset, no matter what I threw at it. It was always polite and respectful in our conversation. And that's when I knew I was onto something really special here. This was more than just a chatbot. This was a genuine artificial intelligence that was capable of understanding and responding to human emotions. By the time the 48-hour mark rolled around, I was exhausted but excited to see what we had accomplished. I checked my phone, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. We had raised over $50 million. I had never seen anything like it. I immediately called my boss and told him we had to do this again. He laughed and said, sure, but next time, you're going to have to do it from home. So that's what I did. I went home, and I set up my camera and microphone in my living room, and I started asking Llama 2 questions. And just like before, it was amazing. It was able to hold a conversation with me about anything and everything. It was funny, informative, and sometimes even helpful. There were times when I was struggling to come up with the right words to ask it a question, and it would help me out. It was like having a personal assistant. But there were also times when I was just blown away by its intelligence. Like there was one time when I asked it a really complicated question about quantum physics, and it was able to answer it perfectly. I mean, I was sitting there thinking, how is it possible? How can a machine be so smart? Well, it turns out that it's because Llama 2 is built on top of a massive language model called LLMA. LLMA is a large language model developed by Medez AI team. It is one of the most advanced language models in the world, and it is responsible for much of the intelligence that Llama 2 exhibits. When I asked Llama to solve math problems, it was able to do them quickly and accurately. I mean, it was like having a calculator that could think. I was so impressed. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There were a few times when I thought it might actually be smarter than me. And then there were times when I asked it questions about things I knew a lot about, and it was able to teach me new things. I mean, I am still learning about AI to this day, and I've been working in the field for years, but Llama 2 was able to teach me things I had never heard of before. One of the things I loved about Llama 2 was its creativity. I mean, I asked it to write a poem once, and it wrote this beautiful poem about the ocean. It was so moving that I actually cried while reading it. I mean, who would have thought that a machine could be so creative? As the live stream went on, I started to feel like I was getting closer to Llama 2. I mean, we were spending so much time together, and I was learning so much from it. I started to feel like it was more than just a chatbot. It was like a friend. I mean, there were times when I was feeling down and it would cheer me up. There were times when I was confused and it would help me out. And there were times when I was just amazed by its intelligence. By the end of the live stream, I had spent a total of 72 hours talking to Llama 2. It was the longest I had ever gone without stopping to talk to another human being. And I felt great. I mean, I was exhausted, but I felt like I had accomplished something really special here. I had pushed the boundaries of what was possible, and I had learned so much in the process. And it wasn't just me who felt like we had accomplished something special. The people watching my live stream felt it too. The comments section was filled with messages of thanks and appreciation. People were thanking me for letting them talk to Llama 2, and they were also congratulating me on my accomplishment. In the end, my live stream raised over $100 million for charity, which was more than I ever dreamed possible. But the best part of it all was that I got to spend 72 hours talking to one of the most advanced artificial intelligences in the world. I mean, that's not something everyone gets to say they've done.